So I started a series on Dear Struggling Farmer, Dear Struggling Farmer, and I started by saying that what I want us to understand is we can actually end the struggle of the farmer. We can actually end the struggle of a farmer. We can actually end the struggle of a farmer. And it's important that we understand that, I said yesterday that the struggle of a farmer, or differently, I said, we know we're using the scripture to do our backup where we talked about the fact that it says, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. Thou mayest prosper, be in good health, even as your soul prospers. And we said, when it talks about you prospering financially and being in good health, this was predicated on the fact that your soul must prosper, that your soul must prosper. And we've already laid the foundation that the soul is where the mind resides. The soul is where your consciousness resides, which means my struggle as a farmer can be tied to the state of my mind, my knowledge. And we started by talking about that the first thing we had to do was to differentiate facts from assumptions, because there are things we said that are not true but that we have assumed. Unfortunately, we do not know we are living in the realm of assumptions, so we have taken these assumptions as though they are the truth. We said that. Then we went on to say, beyond differentiating facts from assumptions, next is understanding governmental policies. Because we said the intent, vision, funding of every government is tied to their policies. And we need to understand how to correctly position ourselves so that we are able to benefit from such policies. Because again, if we do not know the policies that exist, we will not be able to benefit from. So we can end up living and saying, oh, nothing is working, this does not work, that does not work. But the reality is, nothing is working because we are not able to take advantage of the policies. Now, this morning, what I want to look at is farming and science. Farming and science. And why is this important? Because when you meet a farmer and you see a farmer that is struggling, remember I also said that struggling is not something happening only in the villages. It's not something happening only in Nigeria. There are lots of struggling farmers across different developing nations, even in some developed nations. So you realize that there is a need for us to understand the science, because it says, I wish that you prosper, be in good health, even as your soul. So, what is your knowledge of the science of what you're doing? There is a science to it. Do you understand the science? Because if you look at the farmer complains about things like, oh, there is low productivity. But there is a science to tackle low productivity. Oh, there is climate change. I do not know what to expect. But there is a science to give you the power of predictability. Oh, there is no good market access, but there is a science to tackle lack of market access. Oh, when you look at your farm, another issue you might say you are having is there is lack of financial constraint. There is financial constraint, not lack of, there is a financial constraint. There is difficult financial access, but there are things you can put in place. There is a science you can put in place that makes your farm bankable. Because what you realize is the reason why most smallholder farmers cannot access funding is because they do not have a bankable farm. They do not have a bankable farm. You are not running your farm on what is bankable. Because remember that for a bank, the first thing they are looking at, or any financial institute, is if we put our money in this thing, can we get it back? If the bank is looking at what are some of the things that can affect your business. What are the things that can affect your farm? What have you put in as a mitigating factor that will allow them ensure that their investment will not go to waste? That they can recover their money, or that at least you have collateral to cover up the money. That can cover up the money. Then finally, there is the issue of knowledge gap. Knowledge gap. So, as a farmer, you need to ask yourself, how much science am I using in my farm? How much science am I using in my farm? And why is this important? You see, you need to understand that in primary school, we called it agricultural science. Agricultural science, which means this is a way of planting or rearing animals that is dependent on science. This whole thing that we want to do is dependent on science. 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 And the science that you practice will determine the results that you get. Let me explain that, maybe it will make sense. I know that those days they used to use all these things, this ledger, to write manually in the bank. When you come to deposit and all of that, you used to use what's the word? Ledger. So you want to withdraw, you have to go and start looking for ledger. Okay, what's your name? Oh, from Samson of God. Okay, hold on. They will start flipping pages until they find my name. They now start checking. Okay, you dropped 1,000, you withdrawn 200, or you have 700 remaining, or 800. Everything was done manually those days. Now imagine I am trying to open a bank today. Imagine I am trying to open a bank today. Now, imagine after opening that bank, I now choose that, oh, in this bank, oh, I want to use ledger. Right? Just imagine that. I now bring in the documents, the books. So we have a branch in Lagos. We have a branch in, sure, Lagos is able to, let me use 2 states. If you know Lagos, we have a branch in Ojodu Bega, we have a branch in Ojota, we have a branch in VI, all in Lagos. But you cannot deposit in Ogodu and go to Ojota to withdraw. You cannot deposit in Ojota and go to VI to withdraw because we are using manual ledgers. Now, how fast do you think that bank will grow? If we are honest with each other, the bank will struggle to get customers. If the bank is getting any customer, it will be people around here who are not interested in real tech. But the bank will not be able to compete. Am I right? Now, what that essentially means is the reason, see, regardless of how faithful the bank staffs are, how meticulous the bank staffs are, how honest we are as a bank, how much we care about our customers, the bank will not grow. Right? And even if we like, let us have a branch in every geopolitical zone or every of the 744 local governments, the bank will still not grow. Because nobody would want to say, I left Lagos for, in short, I left VI for Jota, I am broke and I cannot run into my bank to collect money just because I deposited in VI, so I can only withdraw from VI because my documents and all are only in VI. Right? Now, what then happens is, by the time you look at that bank, the bank will be struggling. We'll be finding it hard to even pay our staff if we want to use the profits generated by the banks alone. We may find it hard to pay the staff, to retain the staff. Before you know what is happening, you'll be saying, this bank is small, it's for small, in quote, it becomes like a small holder bank. Why will that bank look like a small holder bank? Because the technology that is being used, because again, the paper and biro that are being used in that bank is still a technology. But the technology that we are using at that point is not what is relevant in 2025. So the technology in use in the bank, in that bank at that time, will be a technology of maybe 1980 something or 70 something. So our results will be 1970 something that makes it look small in 2025. Another example. So I'm trying to give us examples. I want to transport my load, my container that just landed from Lagos to Ogun State. And I went to look for horses. I want to build a chariot to carry the container from Lagos to Ogun. You will agree that it will take quite a while for the horses to drag the 60 or 40-foot container. It will take a while. And with that, my transportation will be archaic. Most people will not want to patronize, regardless of how good my intentions are. Why am I using these examples? Because I want you to now compare the technology that you are using. When was that technology developed? The results that you are getting are not bad results, but the results are not good enough for today. That is because the tools that you are using are not today's tools. So your struggle is because you have chosen to operate with a tool of the past. And because of that, you are not able to compete with the results of today. That's where the issue is. Because it is agricultural science. What tools are you using on your farm? Your smallness is not because your farmland is small first, it is because your tools are past. Your tools are in the past. So there is no way you can compete favorably. There is no way your farm can grow. You have now, your farm has become a, what's the word, a rhetoric of the past. So the question is, what science do you need to adopt? What science? You look at tools. How much precision tools are you using on your farm? Is there soil testing on your farm before you plant? If you are a livestock farmer, are you able to actually test your animals to check regularly what are they lacking? Or are you just doing compounding and of nutrient and feed based on this is what they say we should do? Do you even test the quality of feed that you are giving to your livestock? You are doing fisheries, for example. Do you really know the amount of crude protein and all that is present in that feed? Or are you just assuming? You see, we are back to the assumption issue. Because remember when we talked about, when we spoke about assumptions, that assumptions is why your farm will be small. Assumption will make you struggle. So are you assuming that the soil just needs NPK? Are you assuming that the feed is good enough? What assumptions are you making? You need to know. What assumptions? What sensors are you working with as a farmer? There are soil sensors. There are sensors that monitors temperature, humidity, and all of that. Do you have any of these sensors? In short, in talking about testing, did you try to do water tests? I know you have a borehole, but did you test the quality of the water coming from that borehole? Or you are just assuming the water is clean because it looks clean? What are the sensors that you are using? You see, because there are lots of things that you may have assumed and you do not know that this is why your farm is struggling. What are the technology in bigger farms that can be replicated in smaller farms in little farm? What are those tech? Because if those technology are not in place, you cannot compete with the results. The seeds that you use, how did you buy those seeds? Why did you buy them? Did you buy the seed because a vendor told you they are good seeds? How did you come about the decision of accepting those seeds? How did you make the decision? Because if I am a farmer in Lagos and you are a farmer in Kano or Kaduna, one place has a lot of water, another place has drought or tendency for drought. How did you make the decision of the seeds? For you in the north, did you consider drought resistant seeds? Or are we buying the same type of seed regardless of where we are? Did you think of what can survive in high temperature? Or for me in the south, what can survive in high humidity? How are you making that decision? Are you intentional to say, okay, because remember that you in the south that we have high humidity, the diseases that you are going to experience will be different. You are not going to have the same diseases as somebody that is in the south. So Essentially, I need to ask myself, if I am not in that region, what kind of issues am I likely to have? That is now what we guide the kind of seeds that I am buying. Oh, where I am, there will be high humidity, fungi will be a lot. Because of where I am, I'm going to have a lot of fungi. So, what kind of seed do I need to buy that helps me by default, that gives me resistance? Yes, that's what I'm looking for. Resistance to fungi. What kind of seeds will give me resistance to fungi? These are the ways we ask questions, so that I am not buying the seeds because I can afford it. Because right now we have a lot of Nigerians, a lot of people in Nigeria who are selling seeds. And they are just about selling, they are not concerned about what the farmer needs. So they will tell you any kind of story to sell seeds. Is there a level of mechanization in what you do? A level of mechanization with technology. You are saying, but what I am farming is not so big. Yes, you don't need to buy a big tractor. There are small handheld. Is there a level of mechanization? What of irrigation? If you might be farming right now 1 hectare, it is better you are using technology to farm 1 plot than manually making errors on 15 plots. 1 plot gotten right will give you better outcome than 15 plots gotten wrong. I'll say that again. 1 plot that you get right with the science and technology will give you more results than 15 plots that you are doing wrongly without technology. That you are doing wrongly without technology. What mechanization are you using? What of your precision farming tools? What of your irrigation? You see, because think about it. If I have only 1 small plot of land, I have my small mini tractor, I have it irrigated, I have a little borehole. By default, when you say you are looking for funding and you are meeting a bank, they can see a bit of collateral on the land. A bit of collateral to say, okay, you have this, you need 1 million. Those little tech can cover up for you to get your 1 million. But you have 15 plots, 100 plots, no single technology. There is nothing there that will help you act as a succor. There is nothing that helps you act as a guarantee. Much more than that, there is nothing in place that gives the lender, the funder, the financial institute anything that gives them, what's the word I'm looking for? That gives them peace of mind to say, okay, this person has put, because remember that when you want to collect loan, they will tell you to go and do an insurance scheme. And insurance, your insurance premium becomes lower the lower the risk. Because insurance will look at what is the level of risk we are trying to cover. And that risk level will determine how much they will tell you to pay for your cover. So there is a science that you need to imbibe into what you do. Notice I am not saying go for greenhouse farming. I am not even saying do hydroponics, aquaponics, aeroponics. No, because it is not about going for high-end technology. You are a smallholder farmer. You may not have the funds to fund expensive technologies and tech, but you should be able to imbibe low tech, affordable tech. You should be able to bring in some predictability, that is precision. You should be able to do that. Then, post-harvest technology. What are you putting in place to handle your post-harvest? Excuse me. What are you putting in place? How are you handling post-harvest? How are you handling it? Oh, somebody will say you don't understand. The problem is I do not have money to go and buy cold room. You don't need cold room to handle post-harvest. Can you afford a charcoal cold room? Charcoal, the one built with charcoal. No electricity needed. If the answer is no, okay, can you build something with palm fronts? Because the whole idea of storage is a place that you can keep it to extend the shelf life a bit. As short, let me add this so I will not forget. What I have realized is, let me use tomatoes as an example. If you are a grower of tomatoes, the regular tomatoes you buy in the market may not be able to spend 5 days in your house without getting spoiled, except you put it in the refrigerator, right? But if you grow tomatoes right, using precision farming, tomatoes can stay in your house for a month without fridge and not get spoiled. Yes. Which means one of the first things in trying to handle post-harvest loss or post-harvest management is growing the crop right. Growing the crop right confers on the crop automatically longer shelf life first. Longer shelf life first. Growing it correctly gives it a long shelf life first. But beyond that, you can now start thinking, okay, what are some of the affordable ways to preserve? Having a shed built with palm fronts can preserve. You don't want to go with that. If you go to those days, every farmer has a big tree. When you harvest, you take those things and put under the big tree so that there is a shade. That is a form of preservation for veggies. You don't want to go with that. What about dehydration? Dehydration. Because you see, by the time you are looking for funds, they now realize, oh, in your own little way, you have tried putting in some little things in place. You can dehydrate. If you go to Italy, one of the beautiful things in the what's of that area now, there is a city where they do a whole lot of tomato production. You realize that the women in the community, they don't all have money to do tomato, cold room. So some of them have these big pots that the excess tomatoes, they are able to boil it and can it to preserve it for up to a year, and they sell it when it becomes scarce. How are you thinking post-harvest management? Do you have a market before you started production? Do you understand the dynamics of markets? Or are you working on markets based on assumption? We are still going to discuss this around market later. Are you doing markets based on assumption, or are you intentional about curating your own market? What about your insurance and risk management? As a smallholder farmer, are you doing everything you are competent in, or are you doing what you are competent and what you are not competent in? Because when you are trying to grow as a smallholder farmer, focus on your strength, outsource your weakness. Maybe you are not good in doing nursery, outsource it. Maybe you are not the best in spraying. Find who can spray properly. Let them come and be spraying for you. It will cost you money, but it will save you money in the long run. Maybe you are not the best fertigation expert. Find out the person that will be coming to tell you, okay, this is what you fertigate, this is what you do next part-time and all of that. It will pay you in the long run. As we round up, all I am trying to say is your struggle as a farmer depends on the science that you operate in. You cannot operate in the science of 30 years ago and expect the result of today. You will struggle. The farm will struggle. So, a struggling farmer is a farmer that is focused on technologies of the past to try to create the future that they want today. Good morning and thank you for joining. So, as a take home, look at your farm, look at what you do, analyze it honestly and say, this technology that I am using, is this the most recent technology? That it is recent does not mean it has to be big. It can be recent on small scale. It can be recent and affordable. Thank you for joining, everyone. Good morning.